The elderly. I would like to thank Rabbit Box for the accommodations. The patrons of Ricketts Barbershop were of the unanimous opinion that the football team, of which I was a player, was the worst team in the history of the school. I was not a major contributor to the team. I was only 15 and I lacked the basics for success on the gridiron. I lacked speed and I lacked size. I lacked that killer instinct. These are all attributes that were common to our cheerleaders. It was a rough season for me, but I was lucky. I escaped unscathed, except for my nose. I lost most of the skin on my nose when my helmet, which was too big for me, was twisted around backwards.
Oh.
I did not sustain a crippling injury until the season was over. I sprained my ankle on a mad rush to the school cafeteria. You see, I've always had a good appetite. It was a bad sprain. I was put on crutches and told I couldn't walk on that ankle for at least 8 weeks. Now, it turned out that was a really bad time to have an injury because our football booster club, in hopes of a better result next year, was sending the team to a resort in Hot Springs. Now, many of you may know that in Arkansas, Hot Springs is the equivalent of Las Vegas. I had never been to a resort. I wasn't even sure what you did in a resort. So I was looking forward to this trip. Right up until a couple of days before we were to depart, when one of the cheerleaders came up to me in the hall with one of those offers you can't refuse. She had a message from Dwayne. Dwayne was her boyfriend, our team captain. He was an older kid that would remind you of that Fonzie character. Now, he had somehow convinced our coach to let him take some of his buddies who would have to have written permission from their parents, but he would take some of his buddies and go on a little after-dinner tour of downtown Hot Springs. And he wanted me to go. Now, I didn't want any part of this. I couldn't see why we would leave the resort, but for me to be included in anything that Dwayne was doing was a really big deal. It had to mean that my social status was on the way up. Now, I didn't want to go, but there was a lot at stake, so I decided I would try to play along as long as I could. So I said to the cheerleader, "Tell Dwayne I appreciate him including me, but there's no way my parents will let me do this. I can't even walk without crutches. They'll never give me written permission." "Not a problem," she said. "I'm taking care of that. I've already written a note for you. They gave it to the coach this morning." And then she said the only thing the only thing that she could say that would force me to go on this boondoggle. She said, "You know if you don't go, they're gonna call you candy ass." So it was with that threat hanging over my head that I crammed myself and my crutches into this old Ford with 4 other delinquents. And we answered the siren call of Sin City. Now, you would have to be very naive to be surprised when our first stop was at a liquor store. Because everybody knows it's against the law to sell booze to minors. Well, I was surprised. Not only was Dwayne able to buy beer, but he came back with directions to a place that he was told every young man should visit. Now, it took us a while to find this place. A couple of beers. It turned out to be an old 2-story building in the worst part of the city. There was an unmarked door that opened into this narrow staircase. And the only light in this stairway was a single dim red light bulb above one of the doors on the 2nd floor. Now, as naive as I was, I knew immediately that this was not an arcade. But you know, my buddies, they weren't so sure, because as soon as they got the door open, they went running up those stairs and disappeared behind that door with a light on it, leaving me standing in the dark on the street on my crutches. Oh. Now, I was not alarmed at first. They would not leave me down here standing in the dark. And besides, what are they going to find to do up there in that old building? But after a while, I began to think that maybe I was wrong, because they didn't come back. You know, I hobbled back and forth on the sidewalk trying to pass the time until I couldn't stand it anymore. I was going to have to go up those stairs and see for myself what was going on. I had not yet climbed stairs on my crutches, but I didn't see why it would be so difficult. I would just take my time, be real careful. But of course I was wrong. I had barely got started up the stairs when I lost my balance. Oh. Fortunately, I didn't fall backwards. I fell against the wall of this staircase, but I kicked one of those stairs hard with my injured foot. Oh. Pain shot up my leg. I started loudly repeating every expletive I had ever heard. Right up until a very large, very menacing woman appeared at the top of the stairs, yelling at me. What are you doing? Get out of here. What do you think you're doing? Get out. Scared me to death. Fear overcame pain. And I got out of there. Now, it would be a while before my 4 former friends returned to the car. They did not try to explain themselves. It is interesting, and it is a fact that during the uneasy silence of the trip back to the resort, and in all the days that I knew these 4, the last one just passed away a couple of weeks ago, they never bothered to tell me why they left me standing down there in the dark, in the ghetto, on my crutches. But I have become more interesting in an answer to the question that the big woman at the top of the stairs asked me. What are you doing? Now that is an existential question that I have asked myself many times over the years. When I find myself in situations that I had absolutely no business being in, and I think to myself as I look back on it, what are you doing? And knowing that that is something that I should have known. Thank you.